and if you're just joining us or trying to check periodically, we'll go over these things. We'll hold off on that for a second because I have word now that Dan Lovett is. Dan, I think you're at Candlestick, is that correct?
Yes, we're standing outside of the parking lot where you and I both were last night at 5:04 when this took place.
Don't even like to think about it.
Yeah, I know. I don't either, Pete. Obviously, the parking lot is cleared, but when we looked out here last night at 5:04, all of the cars were rolling and the buses and the earth moving and what have you. There is no baseball game today, obviously. Major League Baseball has decided that. They are still in meetings at the St. Francis Hotel with the Commissioner of Baseball, Fay Vincent, and ABC officials who, of course, are involved in the telecast of the World Series. No game today. There has been some speculation that in the discussions at the hotel today of where and what to do about this 86 World Series, speculation possibly that it could go to Jack Murphy Stadium in San Diego. That's just speculation at this point. Los Angeles has been ruled out, Anaheim, because of the Rams playing there, and the Dodger Stadium has been reseeded, so there's no way to play there. The 49ers also have a football game scheduled here at Candlestick Park on Sunday afternoon against the New England Patriots. Now, we cannot get in the stadium. The security here at Candlestick Park is not allowing any form of media inside the confines of Candlestick Park itself. There is they're looking at the stadium inside right now for structural damage, and as you know, we saw some ourselves last night, as many people did. What happens from here? I mean, we can tell you as we did last night, Pete. Yes.
In the vital areas, that's the police, the fire, the health department. Although the health department headquarters is not operable right now, 101 Grove Street, because of severe water damage. However, they've set up an alternative headquarters at Laguna Honda Hospital. Our Muni is about 60% operational right now, and coming up online very quickly, according to our reports. Our water system has been checked all the way back to Hetch Hetchy. Our dams have no cracks. Our power stations, except for one, are operating, and we're asking people not to use their electricity unless it's absolutely necessary. We have power in most parts of the city, except in the downtown area and the marina, which, as you know, was the hardest hit. But we need the cooperation of all San Franciscans, indeed people throughout the Bay Area, to minimize their use of electricity and energy sources so that we can keep it online. It's still somewhat thin.
Dams are cracked or
not? No dams. No dams are cracked. Our water systems, our sewage systems, everything is functioning well and under control. In general, we are in good shape. The police are on duty now, dealing with the biggest problem they have, which is traffic control. We're urging sightseers not to come to the city, to stay out of the city, and not to go from one neighborhood to another to see the damage that they've heard reported in the media. Let me answer some questions at this point. Let me just say that I've just finished a very thorough hour-and-a-half briefing with our department heads in partnership with the Board of Supervisors, as represented by the three who are standing next to me. We're working together and have been throughout this entire crisis, working on making sure that all of the services that we have available are online and helping people. This afternoon, we'll be setting up City Hall outstations in the three shelters that represent the major departments that people may need help or information from. And at City Hall, so that at, well, the water department, the tax collector, believe it or not, there's tax relief that people will be eligible for. We're trying to get those forms ready so that people can be assisted to start those forms to get the help they'll need to restore their lives to some sense of normalcy as quickly as possible.
Mayor, give us an estimate of the number of buildings.
I'm going to answer everybody's question, so just go slow.
Can you give us the estimate of the number of buildings damaged and destroyed?
We're told that there are some 40 buildings that have been damaged or are not usable right now, but we're still in the process of surveying them, on a building-by-building basis. And we're asking for volunteer engineers and inspectors to call our Department of Public Works Director, Richard Evans, to assist all the city inspectors and engineers who are making this inspection on a priority basis. That's public buildings like hospitals, schools, as well as private buildings that are essential for public use. We need to get through that so that we can tell people what they need. Our Rec and Park Department, we hope, will be operational by noontime today, by 12 o'clock today, so people can use the parks. The zoo is open, for example, so that many of the things that are available to people to occupy them during a day like today are available for their use.
What about the power? What does PG&E say about the power?
PG&E is bringing up the power. The areas that they have not are the downtown area, where they're being very careful because of some disruptions they had, and the marina. The marina is going to be some time before it's up and running. Most of the other city, I'm told, has been brought up.
What about monuments? Have you got any assessment of damage to major monuments in the city?
No.
When you say sometime before the marina is up and running, any estimates given?
We don't have any estimates, but it won't be within the next 48 hours that we know of. I'm going to have a better idea of that by 3 o'clock today. I've asked all the departments to immediately survey their respective areas of influence and authority to give me some monetary damage. I can tell you it's going to be in the hundreds of millions of dollars for San Francisco.
The fire department indicated they fear they will find more bodies.
We have two seismic detection units. One was loaned to us by the city of Los Angeles, was flown up by our fire commissioner, Frank Quinn. We have one that the fire department owns. Both of them are being employed to detect any kind of movement in the rubble, as well as dogs that were given to us by Alameda. To date, as of this moment, we have not detected any more fatalities or bodies there. Yeah, it was a sensational performance by the people of San Francisco. They cared for one another. They helped one another, whether it was people helping others get to the hospital as walking wounded, as they were called, with flying glass, whether it was people helping at intersections, filling in as volunteer traffic directors, and obviously the people in the marina who helped move fire hoses from the ocean 6 blocks to where from the bay, the ocean water from the bay, 5 or 6 blocks to where it was directed on the fire. There are heroic acts all over. San Francisco has risen to the occasion, and in every sense of the word. The sheriff told me that the jails are all secure and operational, although they're operating on emergency power. They had way below the average number of bookings last night, even though we had twice as many police officers on duty to prevent any kind of looting or vandalism. The police reports are way below average. So in effect, people did not take advantage of the situation. In fact, did the opposite. They responded heroically. Well, last night we did, the police chief did close a number of them where their professional judgment showed that it would not be conducive to let them continue the kind of party atmosphere that was developing there. And so in a general way, they aimed at those kinds of situations.
What part of town were those in, Mr. Mayor?
I don't recall. You'll have to ask the police chief, but I remember there were some in the south of Market that he aimed at, although there were spots where they just saw people needing to get home who did not really realize the severity of the situation. Frankly, I was out at Candlestick Park right after this hit, and 62,000 people out there didn't realize the severity of the situation. Well, we've got a number of top priorities that we're doing at the same time. We're returning the city to normalcy, whether it's the Muni system, whether it's our park and recreation system that will give people options to do while they're waiting for the word to go back to work in their private or public sector. By the way, all city employees are instructed to, if they can't go to their place of work because of damage, to volunteer through their supervisors in whatever way the Red Cross will be indicating they need at the shelters or in cleanups or those kinds of things. So we're returning to normalcy as quickly as possible. We are doing a damage assessment to determine what the costs are and what we're going to be asking the federal government for. We are setting up City Hall outstations at City Hall and outside of City Hall, as well as at the 3 shelters right now, so that we can begin processing by the end of the day the kinds of paperwork that'll be necessary for people to get disaster relief from the state and federal government. We're looking to them to give us those forms and the eligibility requirements so that we can instruct people and get them started. The Red Cross is setting up service centers, which is the next phase of dealing with a disaster such as this. The first phase is getting shelters so we can get people indoors and fed and taken care of medically if necessary. The next phase is the service centers, where they get vouchers to rent new apartments if theirs are not inhabitable, and those kinds of things to restore some sense of normalcy.
That's Mayor Art Agnos, who is live right now at City Hall, going through a brief press conference. These is essentially a repetition of some things he has said earlier. We also have some new information, but again, complimenting the people of the city of San Francisco. We have some things developing, and we think, because obviously San Francisco is not the only area of concern, if the mayor has new information, of course, we will go back to him. We have just learned that there is some structural damage now believed to have occurred. The word major was used. We are not certain of that, so I will hesitate with it, but only give you the idea that you should stay away from the San Mateo Bridge. It is now closed for re-inspection of the superstructure, as it was yesterday. So that is an indication that they must have found something there, and we are sending a crew on the way right now. Eastbound 580 is closed to eastbound 24 at this point. They may make other changes as well. Cheryl Jennings has just joined me here, as has Dave Louie, and they have some new information as well. But Cheryl, I should just mention this shelter update that they've handed me too.
Very important.
The World Friendship Society, which is a newly opened shelter, has been notified to evacuate. The beams are about to collapse there. Now, that's roughly about 30 people living in the shelter. They need to be relocated. The number to phone if you would like to help is 558-8350. If you'd like to help there, 558-8350. And again, shelters run by the Red Cross are doing fine in most areas, as we understand it. The Moscone shelter in San Francisco could use donations. It is located at 3rd and Howard. For the San Francisco area donations for the Red Cross, you can call them by calling 776-1500. We've given that repeatedly during the course of the day. But there is now a need for rooms for 30 people. 558-8350. That's the World Friendship Society. I understand the OES is on the line with us right now.
Let's go live to the OES right now. Okay. Go ahead, you're on the air.
Are you there, folks?
Yes.
We didn't get a name.
Mark Stanley.
Mark Stanley.
Mark Stanley. All right. Mark, what have you got to tell us?
We just got a current briefing, and some of the assessments now are starting to come in, and the resources that have been staged in the area are being shipped to where they're needed, as far as water, medical, equipment, fire apparatus, and that kind of thing.
Okay, Mark Stanley, I'm sorry that we dropped out for just a moment. We have a lot of ambient noise, a lot of information coming to us. Could you please reestablish for us what the situation is for people in the most critical areas?
Right now, some of the most critical areas are in the Santa Cruz area. We're just getting information on, there was an assessment done where they pulled every county. Santa Cruz County has 8 fatalities, 7 injuries, and approximately 100 people displaced. As you probably know, Highway 17 is closed. There was an earlier report that was going to be open at noon, and that has been revised, and there's no opening date at this point. There are some hazardous materials problems in some of the UC Santa Cruz labs. We don't have any further details. The dams in the area, there's no significant damage, but the Department of Water Resources and the Corps of Engineers is investigating that. They've got an estimate of approximately $250 million in damage in the Santa Cruz County area.
Mark, one of the concerns that people have here, of course, is their drinking water supply. We're wondering whether you have any reports of contamination. We've heard reports of mandatory conservation in some areas. Any reports of contamination at this point?
I'm kind of going through my briefing as we talk. I don't believe there has been any reports of contamination, although they're strongly suggesting you try to, conserve on water everywhere for potential problems that may be encountered later.
Okay, and our experience with the public at large is that they're doing a fantastic job in cooperating with the California Highway Patrol and emergency officials. Are you experiencing that also in your area?
Yes, we are. Everyone's been extremely helpful. Things are running as smoothly as they can be in these kinds of situations. And we've had numerous requests for people wanting to volunteer and that kind of stuff. All it's being, funneled to the appropriate channel.
Mark, I want to thank you very much for joining us. That was Mark Stanley with the Sacramento Office of Emergency Service. David Louis is going to sit with me for just a few moments. First of all, we want to talk, though. If you could just hang tight for just a moment, David. We have a young lady with the Red Cross. I didn't get your name. Please tell me.
I'm Lori Olson. I'm with the Bay Area Red Cross, our Red Cross headquarters in San Francisco. We're the headquarters for 5 Bay Area chapters.
And tell us what the Red Cross needs. Obviously, money would be helpful.
We're asking for the public to send in financial contributions. We need cash donations. We've been finding that in past disasters, Cheryl, we often have a surplus of certain goods and not enough of another. So if people will send their cash donations to the Bay Area Red Cross, we will use that money 100% and go out and purchase whatever is needed, be that baby bottles for children, milk for children, crutches for people who might be injured, but 100% of that money donated to the earthquake relief in the Bay Area will be used to help the victims.
Okay, now, when people want to send the money in, how should they make out their check and where should they send it?
They should send their checks to 1550 Sutter. That's 1550 Sutter Street, S-U-T-T-E-R, in San Francisco. The zip code is 94109. They could also, we can take pledges on Visa or MasterCard through our 800 number, which is 1-800-453-9000. And again, we are urging cash donations. On the heels of Hurricane Hugo, Cheryl, we're finding that our National Disaster Fund has been depleted, and there is a tremendous need for financial contributions to meet the needs of earthquake victims in the Bay Area.
Pete Wilson had mentioned that even one of the shelters where people were going for some kind of comfort is in danger right now. So are you experiencing that problem Bay Area-wide?
We are doing everything within our power to be sure that our shelters are safe, and I think for the most part they are, so we are addressing those issues. We have about 30 shelters open throughout the greater Bay Area, and there are a large number of people who are needing emergency housing. We're offering food, water, and clothing for people that do not have those commodities available.
Okay, now you gave a number for people who want to make donations. What about people who need help or who need to get to one of those 30 shelters? Where should they go? What should they do? How should they get in touch with you?
We have a shelter at the Moscone Center. There's one at the Marina Middle School. We have shelters in Oakland. We have shelters as well in Alameda and also at Los Gatos High School. Please call your local Red Cross to find out where the nearest shelter might be, or contact Moscone Center or the Marina in San Francisco.
Okay, thank you very much for that valuable information. Appreciate you stopping by. Right now, David Louis has been patiently sitting with us. David, what have you got?
Well, Cheryl, this is not as great of magnitude as what the Red Cross is doing, of course, right now in terms of helping relieve the victims of this earthquake. But we do have some important developments from Caltrans regarding the status of the Bay Bridge. Specifically, what options or what steps will they take to try to reopen that most vital arterial roadway that links the West Bay with the East Bay? The word is that hopefully within the next hour, Caltrans is going to make one of two choices. As you see from this videotape from yesterday, that one section of the cantilever section is, the top deck has fallen into the lower deck, but the Caltrans engineers are telling us that the trusses, the support beams underneath that roadbed on the lower section the trusses are intact. So they say that the roadbed is the principal problem, not the support structure of the bridge itself. So they have one of two options. They can tear out those two decks sections, the part in the cantilever section that did collapse, and either do a temporary repair, and if they do that temporary repair, they could have some lanes open to the Bay Bridge by the end of the week, remarkably fast. But they're also thinking seriously about a more permanent repair, a repair that would take anywhere from 2 to 4, maybe even 6 weeks, but it would be a permanent repair. In other words, they could get both decks of the bridge repaired at one time. If they take the temporary option, this is what Caltrans is saying, they would still have to make the permanent repairs down the road. and would also add to the cost. At this point, Caltrans is not adding up what it's going to cost. They say they have the emergency authority from Sacramento to go out and start the repairs. They know how important, Cheryl, the whole process is of reopening that important transportation link. But one thing that we have to consider, too, is the trade-off. The fact that if they indeed take the temporary route, they're only going to have maybe 2 to 3 lanes open in each direction. So that is not going to help restore the full flow of the Bay Bridge. It's going to constrict traffic quite a ways. So no matter what solution they pick, whether it's short-term or long-term, commuting in the Bay Area is going to be terrible for the next few months, and while they decide on what to do and which route to take.
Gosh, have they given you any indication at this point as to what so many people have been really good about staying home, staying off the freeways. I guess maybe it's too soon for us to really give a route, a direction for folks.
Well, as you know, by being a business reporter, we're all very concerned about, what is the economic impact of everyone staying at home? Businesses cannot operate. There are essential services that need to be done, insurance claim adjusters who have to go out, building inspectors who have to go out and do their appointed rounds, and of course banks and other people, other important businesses that are the lifeblood of our state and our Bay Area. So I don't know how much longer people really can afford to stay home, but of course we have to listen to authorities and their best advice at this point and heed their advice to stay home for the time being. But when that bridge does reopen, it will help alleviate a situation, but it certainly won't be a long-term solution.
What a dilemma for them. I mean, either way, it's really no win for,
right, that's
for a
true.
long-term thing.
One thing I should also point out too, Cheryl, is one other option they're thinking about is if they can get at least one of those decks repaired, they may try to do 2-lane service, in other words, 2-way service on one deck. And they think that it may be the lower deck that may be a little bit structurally sounder than the upper deck. So they literally could have maybe 3 lanes and 2 lanes. It's a 5-lane bridge, of course, on either deck, but they could have 3 lanes going one direction in the morning, maybe 2 the other direction in order to handle the situation. They're working on every solution. A possible decision will be about an hour away from now.
As you were speaking, David, I think I missed an important thing that you said. Caltrans earlier said they didn't know if the rest of the Bay Bridge had any damage.
At this point, they are still, of course, doing a lot of inspection work, but they seem to think that the damage is indeed just to the roadbed section that you saw in that videotape that we've seen so many times. The roadbeds, not the structural trusses underneath, seem to be the weak point. And if it is indeed restricted just to the roadbeds, they can get that repaired a lot easier than if they had to do major structural work.
Okay, so we're looking at maybe Friday, maybe a temporary solution, but we'll just have to wait and see.
Exactly. We should know something. We'll try to get an update for you within the next hour. Caltrans is expecting a decision pretty soon.
Thank you very much, David. Thanks for that report. Thanks for waiting. Right now, Rigo Chacon is standing by live in the South Bay. Before we go to Rigo, I want to introduce
I'm back.
Don Sanchez is
You're back.
Thanks,
We're all
David.
back. We'll be here all day.
Let's go to Rigo.
Cheryl, earlier we talked about the problems with the water supply in the city of Los Gatos. Most of that city is crippled by the fact that it has either very, very little water supply or in some cases none at all. The source of the problem, not all of it, but a major part of it, is here at the Rinconada Water Treatment Plant, which sits above the city. The earthquake did such dramatic damage here that there is no water coming out of here whatsoever. All the water that is here has to be retained because the system simply is not operable. With me is a Water District Board member, Pat Ferraro, who can explain a little more about what happened here. Pat, tell us about it.
Well, the earthquake knocked out about 3/4 of the plant's capacity. 3 of the clarifiers were full of water, and they sustained major structural damage and have become inoperable. The one clarifier that did not have any water in it did not sustain any damage, and in about 10 or 15 minutes we're going to try to put that one back online and be able to get at least 20 million gallons of water a day out into the distribution system to serve Los Gatos and out west toward Cupertino, which parts of Cupertino rely exclusively on this treatment plant for their water.
I talked to your chief of operations earlier. He's talking in some cases several weeks, perhaps several months to repair the major damage that you have here.
Yeah, and it may be just a complete modification of those systems to put in some more modern type of units that are a lot more efficient. So this may be the opportunity to do that as well. Just like we fixed the dams when they were empty, when you got an opportunity like this, you might want to go in and do things a little more efficiently and modernly.
Cheryl, as you know, in situations like this, a major emergency like we had last night and continues today, rumors seem to fly rampant. A very ugly rumor came out of somewhere attributed to this plant. The rumor was that the water going out of here, incidentally, as I said, there is no water going out, but that the water going out was contaminated. Pat, correct that for us.
Well, actually, there is water going out of the reservoir that was treated before the earthquake. That water meets all bacteriological standards. It's perfectly safe to drink, and there's no problem with that. There's no raw water going out into the system that hasn't been treated. So anything that's in the line is safe to drink, and there's no problem with that.
Again, only the water that was in the lines already is going out, but the plant is basically going to stop.
Right behind us, in the opposite direction here, is a treated water tank that holds about a 2-day supply. So that is full of treated water. It was, as I say, was treated before the earthquake, and it's perfectly safe to drink.
Thank you, Pat. I wanted to take the opportunity to kill that rumor that I heard on a radio station earlier today. So an end to that rumor: no contaminated water here or anywhere else in the system, the water system in the South Bay. Cheryl?
Rigo, we have gotten reports from East Bay Mud and, of course, in your area that they are requesting conservation. Some areas are mandating water conservation. Good advice, I suppose?
Tremendously good advice. The director of operations for the water district I interviewed earlier, and you'll see later on in our coverage, emphasized that if people were already with a great sense of conservation, they should triple that or quadruple that sense of conservation, because now the problem is much more serious, because we are still losing water as a result of those ruptured pipes you saw earlier, as a result of the crippling operation that is now faced here. So yes, conservation is an all-out call to every citizen in the South Bay and beyond.
Yes. Okay, Rigo. Thank you very much for that live report, Rigo, from the South Bay.
East Bay Mud says there's no contamination in their water system, and Marin reports a few minor pipeline breaks, but nothing too serious. But obviously, indeed, conservation is the key. They have cordoned off, police have cordoned off the historic downtown area of Santa Cruz to avert any problems with looters. I'm afraid that's the ugly thing that shows up every once in a while. 5 people, of course, have died in Santa Cruz County. And there was also a problem in Los Gatos as well. The town of Los Gatos, devastation there as well, downtown. Also hard hit, several blocks of the commercial area in the Old Town District, and 2 homes destroyed, 30 houses knocked off foundations. The town manager declares a state of emergency in the community. Along Main Street, buildings crumbled onto parked cars. Many buildings have collapsed, damage in the millions and millions of dollars. There were no deaths, about 25 injuries from broken bones to heart attacks. Gas and water lines burst. Electricity was cut when the quake struck. Authorities say it could take up to 72 hours to restore power and water to Los Gatos. Some looting was reported in this central business district, but no arrests have been made. About 75 people spent the night at Red Cross shelters or at the local high school football stadium in Los Gatos. So you see, well, there was a jogger, things back to normal, but not really back to normal with the widespread damage in Los Gatos and in the South Bay, and certainly, as we've also pointed out, and we've heard from Tony Rusumano, big problems in Santa Cruz, too. But a lot of broken glass and windows shattered. And look, there's, looks like a brick structure, right? Where bricks, yes, have come loose as well. All of this, again, in Los Gatos, widespread. It's a beautiful town, and it, too, has sustained major damage in this 7.0 earthquake.
Right now, we want you to meet, see a familiar face to longtime Channel 7 viewers. Lee McCarran is standing by live at the flash cam in our newsroom. Hi there, Lee.
Hi, Cheryl. How are you? Okay. I'm here, first of all, to talk about Bay Fill. Many of our viewers know, or many of our viewers probably don't know, how much of the bay is built on Bay Fill. And I think we're going to be finding out over the next days or weeks or months as the research goes on how much of an effect the fill that's all around the bay where houses and buildings have been built, how much of an effect that had on the damage that was sustained all around the bay. We don't know that yet. We're going to have to be collecting the information as to precisely where all of the pockets of damage are and compare it with the map that we've got here of the various areas of Bay Fill around the bay. But heaven knows we have been warned throughout the years about the potential hazards, and to repeat, these are potential hazards, they're not definite, of building on Bay Fill. The map that I don't have a monitor here, so I can't tell if you can see it, but the map we've either shown or are going to show is a partial view of the areas around the bay where we have filled in the bay. Thousands of acres of San Francisco Bay have been filled in order to reclaim new dry land so that homes and buildings could be built. Now, this is not to say that building on Bay Fill is entirely positively unsafe. In fact, there are, as I said, thousands or hundreds of thousands of acres that have been filled on around the bay where there are that survived this quake, where the homes stood up or where the buildings stood up rather than falling down. But let's get to the hazards that do exist. Fill has a couple of potential, and as I say, potential problems. One is just plainly the stability. Fill is loose material that is put on top of low-lying areas around the bay, and it's packed up and it's compressed in order to build up, as I say, to make some dry land. Well, we've all, as a kid, made compacted a ball of dirt or something like that, and if you shake it up, it can fall apart. If fill is not compacted properly, and if it gets shaken just the right way, it can cause serious problems. The homes can simply collapse, can simply fall down, and we've seen that happen in other places. Another thing that happens with bay fill is the frequency and the amplitude of the seismic waves that come through. An earthquake shock, an earthquake wave traveling through hard material, through rock, will have a particular frequency and a particular amplitude. As it speeds through and then suddenly it hits that bay fill, it can slow down, it can stretch out, and it can cause these long undulations sort of motions. Those are the motions that can oftentimes cause serious problems, and that's, as a matter of fact, what happened down in Mexico City. Another thing that can happen with fill, we've all heard of liquefaction, where the soil simply turns to a liquid. It absolutely liquefies and drops out. I don't know, I haven't heard much in the way of liquefaction around the Bay Area right now. I don't know if there have been any examples of that, but it's certainly a possibility that occurs with fill. But we can learn something from this earthquake compared to the Mexico City earthquake. Mexico City is largely built on fill. It's largely a swampy area that was built up. They had much greater damage, as we all know, than we had here in San Francisco and around the Bay Area. That tells us something about the building methods, the building codes, and the building materials which have been mandated by law in this state because of all the previous earthquakes. With the horrible exception of that cypress structure on I-880, this earthquake tells us that our building codes are good, that the materials that we mandate to be used can save lives, and that the research that goes on continually over at UC Berkeley and at the U.S. Geological Survey to study earthquakes, to find out how they shake buildings, what makes buildings fall down, and how we can prevent that from occurring by building our buildings in particular ways, that research works. And I think it's a credit to those people who, through the years, working in these California institutions, have come up with these building methods. It's a credit to them that although we have hundreds of people killed in the Bay Area as a result of building collapses and highway collapses, we have millions of people who survived. And it's a credit to that research, and as I say, to the way we build our buildings on fill and on solid land, that we have so many survivors here in the Bay Area.
Okay, Lee, thank you very much for that very complete report. Nice to see you here again.
Glad to be here. Thanks.
Yeah, thanks. Okay, we are going to go to a live picture of the Bay Bridge right now from our Mobile 6 unit. Let's see if we can take that shot. It looks very eerie. It almost looks like a photo, a still picture.
This is the San Francisco side, of course.
Yes, and you can see that it is shut down. Nobody's moving around there. The Bay Bridge, major portion of that bridge, 50-foot section, collapsed yesterday when the big quake hit at 5:04. Richter reading 6.9 to 7, major quake. At this point, I haven't seen any new injury or fatality reports other than the ones we reported to you, the ones we've been telling you about. One fatality that we know of, and 2 very serious injuries. The people there who were injured were airlifted out to Letterman Hospital. In the Presidio, that picture, once again, of the San Francisco side of the Bay Bridge. There is some movement, of course, down 4th Street, but nobody moving on the Bay Bridge as it should be. David Louis was in here earlier telling us that Caltrans is working feverishly on a plan to get the Bay Bridge reopened in some fashion. They're trying to do some kind of temporary emergency procedure to get traffic moving between the East Bay and San Francisco, hopefully by Friday, possibly by putting in 3 temporary lanes to just keep the traffic moving. They're still waiting to see what kind of damage has been done to the Bay Bridge. We should have an assessment on that. Hopefully, we just don't know, but we'll bring it to you as soon as we get it.
Well, you recall Lieutenant Governor Leo McCarthy, who was here earlier, and he's the acting governor right now, as Governor Duke Mason wings his way back from West Germany. But he said that Caltrans today is going to try and lift up that section with a helicopter, put it on a barge, take it away for repair, and maybe get things back to normal as quickly as possible. But again, Caltrans has to assess the amount of damage there on both the upper and the lower decks. Well,
That is I have to tell you, that is the amazing thing about the Bay Area. You know, when something like this happens, everybody, once we get over the shock, we start dealing with, okay, let's get on with it, let's move forward, let's get back to business, let's get on with our lives. And that's pretty much the attitude. Everybody is sitting at home as they have been requested to do by the authorities, the California Highway Patrol.
Not everybody.
Mayor Agnos, and Don, you're correcting me because you have new information.
Because people are showing up at Bay Meadows for today's race program at Bay Meadows Racetrack. And guess what? It's canceled. It's closed. There is no racing today at Bay Meadows, so don't even go near it in San Mateo County.
Oops.
But you're right.
They were supposed to stay home.
That's right.
Yeah.
Well, a lot of people are returning to their homes in the Marina District in San Francisco, where now the estimates that we heard of $1 billion, some people are saying it's $1 billion alone in the marina. Coming back to the scene of yesterday's devastation, and here's what it looked like in the Marina District.
We lost everything.
Which one is your house?
2122 North Point.
Where were you when it happened?
I was downtown in the financial district, but my fiance was home, and he was walking down the steps, and he made it to the middle of the street and literally saw the building come down in front of him. I'm just glad we're alive, but there's nothing there. Everything's gone.
I have a little baby about 9 days old, and they're at the top floor of the house on the left. And I just feel very fortunate they have out. And now that I see it today, you know, I got a second grief, I guess, just to figure out what the hell is going to happen now. I'm sure everybody feels the same way.
Picture who was...
What are you attempting to do here?
Filling up the toilets so I can flush them, basically.
What kind of shape is your house in?
Actually, mine got very little damage. It just got worse as you went down the block. So, as a matter of fact, except for some of the china in the dining room, none of my dishes broke, or really nothing was out of place.
When you look at what happened just a few doors down from you, you must be just very thankful.
I'm more than thankful. It's a blessing that the whole block didn't burn down last night, actually.
I just saw the chandelier shaking, and I was just thrust forward towards my front bay window. And I didn't realize I was at ground level. I thought I was still up on the 3rd floor, but I looked out the window, and there were bikers there, and he helped me out. And there were 2 people trapped underneath me, and I could hear them screaming. And he went and got some firemen to come and get them out, and they had to saw a hole in the floor to pull them out, but they were alive.
Channel 7 producer Eric Christensen talking to some of the stunned people returning to the Marina District. One of those returning, and it took him forever, of course, to get there, is Bob Welch. He was supposed to be the starting pitcher for Oakland in Game 3 of the World Series last night. He and his wife were returning from Candlestick. They had left their little baby with a babysitter at an apartment where they're living very near where the fire and all of the devastation took place, so obviously apprehensive. They've been living in an apartment temporarily until they can move around the corner to a condominium that they had just purchased. Well, they got home, the baby was fine with the babysitter. The condominium, though, at this point, Bob Welch doesn't know whether or not he'll be able to live in it because it has sustained very heavy damage. So that for the man who was scheduled to start for the Oakland A's in last night's game.
And we don't have any word as to whether or not, or if the World Series will resume. We will keep you updated on that. Steve Davis was with you all night last night, keeping you posted. We've been trying to bring information to you in shifts as we get it. Steve Davis was with you all night, and he has prepared a report, kind of a look at everything that has happened to this point. Let's take a look.
If it wasn't the big one, it was an awfully good imitation. The toll in human lives and property damage continues to build. We know now that hundreds are dead. More than 200 died in this one collapsed section of the Nimitz Freeway in Oakland. The Bay Bridge, one of the symbols of the World Series gaiety that prevailed until 5:04 yesterday afternoon, is closed, crippled by a section of the upper deck that plunged onto the lower. The World Series schedule, incidentally, stands in limbo. A major section of one of San Francisco's prestige neighborhoods, the Marina, is a mishmash of collapsed and cockeyed homes and apartments. A fierce fire that broke out there as the quake subsided has claimed at least 3 lives. Others died when buildings collapsed elsewhere in San Francisco, Santa Cruz, and the South Bay. There are many more reports still coming in, and our live coverage will continue. But right now, we're going to look back over the past few hours of our coverage to help bring you up to date. The quake magnitude is still being calculated, but preliminary reports rate it as 7.0, centered approximately 8 miles northeast of Santa Cruz. The rescue attempts were still underway during our 11 o'clock news when Leslie Brinkley filed this report from the collapsed Cypress section of the Nimitz Freeway in Oakland.
There is a half-mile section of the 880 freeway, the Nimitz Freeway, that has collapsed this afternoon. You can see it behind me. It is incredible. I think a lot of the rescue workers here are in disbelief that something this disastrous could really have happened here. It collapsed. We have final word, or words confirmed so far, of 6 fatalities, over 100 injured. Many of the workers here say they think that number is going to go up quite a bit. From 8th to 32nd Street, leading to the Bay Bridge, the Nimitz Freeway, the upper deck, the upper ramp, collapsed onto the lower ramp. It's completely collapsed between 20th and 32nd Street. The cement columns just gave way, they crumbled, and the cars, the rush hour traffic on that lower deck was crushed. Those on the top level were told many walked away, were driven to area hospitals, but those driving on that bottom tier, a lot of fatalities there. There's only a 1.5-foot crawl space there, a very small area for the rescue workers to get in and search around for survivors. One described to us a van that he saw, 8-passenger van, crushed to as small as 3 feet high. Just behind me, about a city block away, they are working on rescuing one child who is still trapped in a car. Some of the rescue workers heard voices, heard children screaming. They found a car where the 2 parents, the 2 adults in the front seat, were crushed to death, and there was a 7-year-old boy and a 9-year-old girl still trapped in the back seat. The one 9-year-old has been taken to the hospital, but the 7-year-old boy is still being rescued right now. With me is a gentleman, Doug Bachmiller, a contractor who came out here to try to help. You brought some equipment with you. What did you bring?
Right, we bought gas-powered saws, ladders, things that, you know, because hardly any electricity was out here before. We didn't have a generator, but we brought anything we could just to help free the little boy that I guess is in there. He's 6 years old. He's comes conscious, then goes out, strokes his mother's face, and then goes back into shock. So they have to go through the mother to get to the little boy. His foot's crushed underneath, so they might have to amputate it. That's what the doctors are doing right now. So it's just a matter of wait and see, and hopefully everything will work out and they'll be able to get him out of there.
That's one tragedy in the midst of many here. As far as trying to lift some of these ramps and get through to the cars that are still trapped, we understand there may be as many as 20 cars crushed beneath this one section. How long might that take?
Weeks. I mean, it's just the weight, just the sheer weight on it, just to be able to even get up there and try to see how many cars there are. Some of them are crushed to 6 inches high up there, so it's just incredible, the weight and the destruction that's going on. Even to have someone alive down there is just a miracle. It's amazing.
Thanks very much. As we said, there are hundreds of rescue workers, hundreds of volunteers out here tonight trying to get into this tiny crawl space, trying to see if there are survivors here. It is something beyond what many people imagine an earthquake would be capable of doing here, buckling this freeway, cracking the freeway, and causing it to topple on rush hour commute.
The awful human toll of that collapse is but part of the story. There are also stories emerging of heroic acts by would-be rescuers who flocked voluntarily to the scene. And there is a long-term loss of one of the Bay Area's crucial traffic arteries, part of the reason that authorities are urging anyone who can to stay home today.
All right, Steve Davis with an overview of some of the devastation from that earthquake yesterday. We, of course, have set up an earthquake relief fund here, and this is where you want to mail a check, and we've already received our first check. It's from Vincent Vivicchio, and if I'm mispronouncing the name, please forgive me. A very generous check in the amount of $500, and we certainly appreciate that. If you would like to help with the earthquake relief fund, just send it here to KGO TV, Box 7, San Francisco 94101. And also, of course, the Red Cross, for the local Red Cross, we're taking checks for them as well for this earthquake relief fund. Again, to Box 7 in San Francisco 94101.
There have been so many power outages that a lot of people really are going to be able to need a lot of help. And we want to tell people in San Francisco, because there's still power outages, there are some places that you can go if you need to eat. if you have no place to eat, if you can't cook in your own home. Glide Memorial Church is using kitchens of the Project Open Hand to serve meals to Tenderloin District residents who are still without power. The spokesman says that more than 1,000 meals were served at breakfast, the same amount expected for lunch, which is just about right now. And the church at Taylor and Ellis Streets is asking for donations of cooked food. So if you can help in that effort, they would appreciate it very much. Also, our cameraman, George Lang, was roaming the streets of San Francisco, and he discovered that one San Francisco restaurant is giving away free food right now because its freezers are down. That is located at 252 California Street in the Financial District. Right now, we have with us two guests who are going to help enlighten us, and we need it, about the damage that can be done to homes and to buildings in an earthquake. I'd like for you to meet Dr. Roger McCarthy, who is the president of Failure Analysis Associates, and also John Osterus, who has been lecturing at Stanford. Am I correct in that? Now, Dr. McCarthy, we first met, you reminded me, when the Hyatt collapsed.
That's correct.
Yes.
After the walkway collapsed
Yes.
in the Hyatt in Kansas City.
Yes. And what can you tell us to help us understand what happens when a building does collapse, a home?
Well, obviously, buildings, most buildings, are static throughout their entire career. And you really think of a structure like a car as something to move, whereas a building stays static through most of its life, of course, unless the ground that it's built on moves. What that does is, because the building has mass and inertia and the ground moves, the building wants to stay in place. Things at rest want to stay at rest. The result is it puts bending loads in the structure, which, depending on the way the structure is designed, either it can handle it or not. Obviously, those structures that are high in strength and low in mass do very well. And that's why steel structures and all steel structures like this end of the Bay Bridge do fine. Structures that do worst are the ones that are high in mass and low in strength. And we all know that bricks and concrete weigh a lot, and unfortunately they take a lot of compressive load, but in tension they are weaker.
John Osterus, I'd like to ask you, you are working at Stanford right now, studying this issue.
Yes.
And the nature of steel supports. Correct me if I'm wrong on this. Well, how can people learn from this? What do we need to know?
We need to study the damage that has resulted from this earthquake, identify areas where we can improve our codes, improve the performance of existing buildings. There are also a lot of things that people can do around their own homes to look for damage and ensure that their own homes are safe. Historically, wood frame structures, which are most homes, have performed quite well and quite safely in earthquakes. The sort of things to look for are falling objects, chimneys, broken glass, and of course the fire hazards from natural gas leakage.
John, can you do a comparison for us? I know that you're very familiar with what has happened in the Marina District and what happened in 1906. Can you draw some kind of comparisons between those?
Well, in both 1906 and this year, yesterday in the Marina District, we saw very heavy damage in areas of the city that were built on fill or deep clay deposits, and they're showing up on the monitor right now. The Marina District is a very small area where there was very deep ravine down to bedrock. Bedrock is about 250 feet below the Marina District, and so to fill in that ravine, there is both natural soft clay deposits as well as a lot of artificial fill. Those fill and clay deposits tend to amplify the bedrock motions, which would normally be quite low and undamaging, but when the fill acts as an amplifier, the motions at the ground surface can be quite severe. This is identical to what happened in Mexico City, where there was an earthquake some distance from the city, but the soft soils beneath Mexico City amplified the motions coming in and caused very destructive motions at the ground surface. What's surprising in this case is that it was just the Marina District that was so badly damaged, and that the other areas of fill around the bay didn't see the same level of damage.
Very lucky in that regard. One quick question before we go, Dr. McCarthy. Your firm goes in and can tell people whether or not they have damage. Is that correct? What should people do if they suspect they have damage? Who should they go to?
Obviously, in the short, well, I'm afraid in the short term, obviously people are going to have to look at what they've got in terms of their home and determine if it's safe to occupy. things that are cosmetic, cracked plaster on your walls, are just that. They're cosmetic and they can be fixed. The really important thing are to look for unstable chimneys, foundation and structural walls that are really tilting at an angle that might not hold their load in an aftershock. And of course, the smell of gas or anything of that nature should immediately caution someone to vacate a structure where the contained gas might ignite, whereas in the open it probably won't.
Okay, Dr. McCarthy, John Ostros, thank you both for joining us. Right now, Ana Chavez has joined us. How you doing, Ana?
Well, Cheryl, it was a sleepless night for a lot of us and a lot of people involved in the quake, and I'm sure quite a few of them in the beach areas near Los Gatos, where by light today, it was quite apparent that a great deal of damage had been done. Really, last night, the damage reports were focused on the collapse of the Cypress structure on 880, as you know, and the Marina fire. And Tony Russomanno last night gave us an inkling of what might be near the epicenter. But today, as we look into that area, it is quite severe. We know that authorities have cordoned off the historic downtown district of Santa Cruz to try to deter looters. Apparently that is a problem. And almost unbelievably, law enforcement officials are telling us that in that area, gawkers and sightseers are creating a problem. And they're also saying that about the Marina district. By any means possible, please ask all people who you know who are out and about to stay put. It is causing a problem for people who have to get by, people who are victims of the earthquake and those in emergency rescue situations. Look at these historic buildings in downtown Los Gatos and Santa Cruz, and you can see the kind of damage that was wrought. Los Gatos, there was widespread damage. The city 40 miles to the northeast of the epicenter. Several blocks of the commercial Old Town district and 2 homes were completely destroyed. 30 houses, they say, were completely knocked off their foundations. The town manager has declared a state of emergency in that community. The 28,000 residents are not being allowed in or out unless they can prove where they are going and what they need to do. Main Street is a disaster area. Gas and water lines burst there, and electricity was cut when the earthquake struck. It could take as long as 72 hours to restore power and water to Los Gatos. The people who are living in that area who need to know how to conserve water and what to do in the event of an aftershock should consult the front of their telephone book, the white pages. Basically, the best advice is to become very familiar with your surroundings. Make sure that you're not in any danger if there is another structural shake. And if you have to learn how to purify water, instructions are in the front of your phone book. Some notes while you look at these pictures of other things that have happened this morning. Vice President Dan Quayle visited the Marina Middle School. As you know, that is the relief center and shelter for victims of San Francisco's Marina District. It is a Red Cross evacuation center. The Vice President said that his impression is one of great sadness for the number of people that lost their lives and the families who are affected. The State Office of Emergency Services now placing the death toll at least 272 people. California Congressman Tom Campbell says he understands that that section of the Nimitz Freeway that was leading to the bridge over San Francisco Bay, that Cypress infrastructure, was scheduled to be reinforced. And the Republican who represents the Stanford area is in Washington this morning, but he was referring to that reworking and said that the reinforcement area that had begun, that part of the project that was already underway, was not damaged in the collapse. For the latest now from the San Mateo Bridge, we go to Dan Lovett, who is standing by live.
All right, thank you. We are standing here at the west end of the San Mateo Bridge. As you can see, it is now shut down both east and westbound. The eastbound lane was closed earlier. Now everything is shut down here at the San Mateo Bridge. They are going for another inspection. The bridge, of course, was closed for about 3 hours last night, then reopened earlier today. But now, after further consideration, Caltrans and they have decided to have another look at the bridge. From the California Highway Patrol, Officer Mike Remmel is here with us. Tell us what's the story here as far as how long and what's the reading you get on it?
Well, traffic will be stopped on the San Mateo Bridge indefinitely at this point. There is no estimate on how long the inspections are going to take. Traffic for westbound is being diverted at Clawwitter and at 880. Traffic eastbound is being totally stopped at US 101.
Okay, thank you, Officer Mike Remmel from the California Highway Patrol, who is out here. It is closed indefinitely, as you heard the officer state to us. What's happened is on this end of the bridge, on the west end of the bridge, they have discovered after further inspection that there's been a movement of 3 to 4 inches on the bridge. Therefore, they are getting ready to bring the trucks through here momentarily and begin the inspection. We see there have been a couple of helicopters through here also. That's the story from the San Mateo Bridge, shut down indefinitely at this point. Further inspection, there has been movement on the bridge.
Thank you, Dan Levitt reporting live. We have a bulletin for anyone who may be within the sound of a TV set but who is hungry and doesn't have a place to go. Glide Memorial is receiving a donation of 400 lunches today at 12:30. If you need a meal, the public is welcome. Right now, we know Channel 7's Ed Leslie has been touring the Marina District of San Francisco with the structural engineers, and he's standing by to bring us the latest. Ed?
Right, Anna, that is correct. Now we begin the painful and preliminary process of beginning to rebuild. A lot of homeowners who were fortunate enough to survive the quake itself, but who nonetheless lost their property in the process, are today condemning their luck for that. At the same time, we have building inspectors behind us here at the corner of Divisadero and Jefferson condemning their homes. We still don't know yet how many structures were lost or will have been lost by the final tally, but a lot of candidates right here at the corner of Jefferson and Divisadero are now being inspected. We have videotape. Inspectors by the carload were deployed today in San Francisco to check out every building suspected of having sustained life-threatening damage, especially in that district in the Marina. First, we hear from Supervising Inspector Don McConlog, followed by a resident who tells us his home will now have to be razed. McConlog first.
We have an extensive amount of damage, but everything's under control. There doesn't seem to be anything that's out of control, and we'll have a real good feel for the situation this afternoon.
Okay, any indication yet how many buildings might have to come down? Are we talking about dozens, scores?
At this time, it appears to be less than a dozen buildings are in jeopardy at this particular time.
That's including in the Marina?
That's correct, yes.
I'm afraid this building is going to end up having to come down.
Who's going to arrange for that?
The owners, I assume. I just spoke with one of the owners. He said that he, because of this earthquake, is now bankrupt. Okay, him and a number of other people have a number of properties around the city, and they're all damaged like this. They bought them on 10% contingency plans, and now they're out.
In San Francisco, that's just here in San Francisco, obviously the same scenario being played out right now in Los Gatos, Santa Cruz, Oakland as well, and in other parts of the city. For example, the gentleman who said his landlord is bankrupt, that's over on 6th Street, many miles from here. If you did see a lot of standing around, the inspectors with the hard hats and the orange bibs and so forth, good reason for that. It's just too unsafe to go into these buildings. You can see why. We're waiting for structural engineers to butt up some of these garages and so forth so that they can go in safely.
Thank you, Ed Leslie reporting live from the Marina. If you are concerned about water quality, we have some information that Peter Giddings will be bringing us. Go get a pencil or a pen and something to write on, and in the meantime, let me give you some information for homeowners. State Farm, the state's largest home insurance company, has all of its offices open today, and they are bringing in extra help to deal with claims. If you have assessed the damage in your house, they want you to go to the office if you're having problems calling in. Otherwise, call in and they can start the process for getting you your claim processed. If you do not have earthquake insurance, it is quite possible that your general homeowner's policy has some provision for providing for your expenses because of a catastrophe. So, again, try to get to your claims adjuster. Perhaps your regular homeowner's policy, even if you don't have earthquake insurance, will provide you some coverage for your living expenses if you are not able to be in your home. Right now, Peter Giddings, our meteorologist, joins us with the latest water quality report for San Francisco and Contra Costa County.
Water quality and quantity. And outside of the Santa Cruz area, we can't speak for them because we haven't reached them yet. And we've been trying by ham radio. I mean, they really are isolated. And we have rumors out of their area that they would like you to boil water and or put 2 drops of Clorox per quart of water to make it okay for consumption. But the massive earthquake has literally ruptured hundreds of water mains. I'm just going to run through the water situation in the various Bay Area counties. Los Gatos has major problems. As we have reported before, downtown Los Gatos has been cordoned off. There are 10 and 17-inch breaks in their main water mains, and They are having a main problem with water. Even when they do get power up, they're going to have to fix those mains. Now, they have their pumping station that's controlled by the Santa Clara Water District online, Rinconada, and they will pump water as soon as they get power in, but they do not want people downtown in that area. So there is a water outage, not a water shortage in that area, and it may take as much as 72 hours. They ask if you would please only use water for absolute emergencies, nothing else. Major damage in the Santa Cruz area, as we have told you, with the roads, leads us to believe that most of the areas will be having problems with water in the area, and if they are on wells, as I heard from Santa Clara's people, some 6 major wells down there, they probably are without power. Therefore, they are without water. So again, emergency only. There are over 100 broken water mains in the San Jose area, but those are going to be worked on as a group, and they're going out with as many crews as they have. They have everybody in. Santa Clara Water Valley District says minor damage to the Lexington, the Vasona, and the Guadalupe reservoirs. They checked them last night. Everything was fine last night. They've decided that they'll go out and check them now during the daytime. The water districts in Gilroy and San Martin says everything is fine. Water service is normal. In Contra Costa County, one major leak at Ignacio Valley Road at Wiggett, and they have asked if the public would please, in Contra Costa County, if you see a major water leak, please call and let them know where they are. It's such a big county, they can't possibly cover everywhere, and they need your help. 674-8095. That's only in Contra Costa County. In Alameda County, the Hayward Water District's in good shape. It's asking people not to call. Please don't call unless they have water damage to report. There are no major water problems in the Tri-City areas of Fremont, Newark, or Union City. In Pleasanton, Livermore, Dublin, there are minor damage at one plant, but they are at full water service, and they're working at that. Water quality is considered normal in all areas. All they are asking is for conservation. Please, no outside water, and just stay at the levels that they have been during the summer. And in San Francisco, all water treatment plants, reservoirs, and dams are acting normally, except for the devastated area in the marina. However, they do say that if you turn on your tap and you don't get water, please call 550-4956. 550-4956. That's for maintenance, and they will come out and see what the problem is.
We also have a note about bottled water. If you don't have bottled water service, please don't call the bottled water companies. Their priority during this drastic emergency is to get water to the shelters and to hospitals and then to their regular customers. If you're not already a subscriber, they can't handle a new order, and they probably are not going to be able to sell you part of that supply, which is really for the most critical needs first. Peter, before you go, a quick